Yo, what's up? Welcome back. Okay, so yeah, I've changed up everything. You see, everything's different. I'll get into that later, but I want to talk about criticism for a hot second because I think a lot of us who are on social media or have a platform or whatever it is tend to speak and offer criticism either to artists or whomever. But I don't think we consider if our criticism is informed or ill-informed. If we're really thinking about what we're talking about, if we're thinking about our thinking, or if we're just emotional. I want to get into this because there's been a couple videos out about Normani. As you've seen, I don't know, and I don't know why this is, like there's every couple months, Normani drops something, then people go into these rants and they start doing think pieces and it gets just extra. But I think something is to be said about the criticisms and where they're all rooted from and the mindset of a lot of the people who have a criticism, who's offering constructive criticism in this. So I think a lot is to be said about pop culture. Right now, pop culture means popular culture. We're not going to compare pop culture to pop music, although they are kind of closely related to one another. We're in a culture right now where it's ruled highly by the media, by social media. There's a lot of this microwave, short, 1, 2, 3, instant type of everything is instant right now, and that's the wave. You have the reels, you have Vine, you have the TikTok and all of that stuff where things are just like rapid content. Everything is just fast, quick, in a hurry. This has trickled down into music. Songs were at one point over 3 minutes. Now they're 2 minutes and 12 seconds, a minute and 58 seconds, and these aren't even interludes we're talking about. These are full songs. Just stuff that's being put out because of the attention span that's shrinking in the populace. And that same populace being fed and given all this, essentially this candy, I think they're speaking from a mind that's just sopped up on a bunch of sugar, sweets, and fun dip and honey buns, and it's not thought out, careful criticism. It's not thought out, careful thoughts. It's just feelings, and it's just erratic. Okay, let's just get into what I want to first talk about how I even got into Normani. So of course it was through Fifth Harmony, like many of us started with Fifth Harmony. I began to notice how well she danced. Well, I didn't begin, I saw, like watching her, we're just like, something's different about her. She has a grace, a precision, some type of, there's something so graceful and elegant about her movements. It's even when she's moving and she's, doing these sharp movements, it's still feminine and it's graceful. What is this? And then we began, she moved on from Fifth Harmony, and then we saw the Love Lies performance, and, it began to really come out, and we began to see much more of her star rise. And then we have Motivation, which was like, everyone was like, oh my God. And then we have Wild Side, which to me, I'll tell you, personally, is her actual debut as an artist. And I'll get into that later. But I've learned and I began to see different criticisms directed towards her. And the most common one is about, oh, Normani, where's the album? Normani agrees. The album's coming, I'm a perfectionist. I'm working on it. Okay, right, fine. I think the criticism should stop there. The funny thing that I've noticed was that people were beginning to not just say, okay, we want the album or I want the album. It then began to go down this strange spiral of this comparison thing that happens as a result of pop culture. See, with the pop culture monster, there's just a lot of production and consumption. So you're going to have 3 million different artists doing the same thing, sounding the same, because that's the leading trending sound that the people want, and that's what the people are going to keep seeking, right? So this thing that happens in critiquing and criticism, when you're saying, okay, one thing that we all comprehend and even she agrees with, but then you're talking about what other artists aren't doing and what personality and all this other stuff. And I'm like, and then I'm thinking like, how informed are these critics? How informed are they? Are they genuinely there? Are you just speaking from a audience or from a spectator position? Are you genuinely someone who is valid in sharing your critique because you're invested in that artist, or are you just sitting back as a spectator? Because if you are, then you're not, what you're saying, you're feeling, you have emotions, and they're not completely invalid, but what you're saying isn't important because you're speaking from a state of mind that's sopped up on the fun dip and the candy canes and the high fructose. Like you're speaking to a natural grown vegetable as a piece of candy, and that's what I mean by, I know the analogy was extra, but it's like, if you're speaking from one of the lowest positions in the culture, which is just as a consumer and not someone invested in the artist, then what you have to say will fall on deaf ears. It won't matter. I can sit and talk about all the artists that I love. And I'm going to talk about pop culture as well, just a little bit more about this, because the candy analogy speaks to the lack of talent, that overconsumption, overpump of product and just of different artists with no talent. That's the mediocrity is just pumped. It's pumped into that culture. It's pumped into it. And I take part of it. I enjoy a lot of the catchy songs and all of that by some of the even below mediocre artists that are out there. However, I am not delusional enough to say that these artists or these people that are in these positions are talented. I know talent. I'm an artist. I do a lot of different things. I know talent when I see it. So I can enjoy something. I can enjoy the piece of candy and still say that there's no real substance there. It's empty calories. I get that. I find that when you begin to compare kale or ginger to a lemon head, for what? They're not the same. When you do that, you begin to reveal that you just aren't as informed, because you're not thinking about the labels, you're not thinking about the talent, you're not thinking about the industry, you're not thinking about any of that. You're just you're just upset. Okay. So you're going to speak for 16, 17, 18 minutes about how upset you are. And just because you can form some thoughts and weave them into your emotions, that makes it valid? It doesn't, actually. It doesn't. Because there are those who can take a step back and are a bit objective and be like, no, that comparison, these are apples to oranges. This doesn't make any sense. You're not criticizing, you're just upset. This isn't constructive. You're venting. It's not the same. And okay, your emotions are valid, but you can't speak from a constructive, critical place if you're not informed. There is something very special about Normani. Her superpower is her mystique. And no other artist has that. She has a strong magnetism. She's extremely graceful, extremely elegant, and she appears to have been here before already. Something about her gives this, she's been here before. And you can tell when she does her award acceptance speeches, there is a high level of grace that some of the pop faves don't have. Not to suggest that they should or they whatever, but since we're going to compare, I'm just saying. But there is something there that is extremely set apart that she represents. And when they refer to a cultural reset with Normani, they're talking about the reset to the end of that super sugary, sweet filled, short attention span culture that just wants and wants and wants and wants and wants. Wild Side to me is her debut. It's a slow burn. It's still going strong. It's been 4 months now, going on 5 months. And if you have that short, realistically, the industry and the way that the songs flow and they move so quickly, if you say so, then there are so many songs older than that are still going strong. The logic doesn't logic. It doesn't make any sense. That song is strong enough to last years. It is. But Normani presents something that a lot of other artists don't have. And that's an immense level of talent. You can't compare talent to mediocrity or sub-mediocrity and then think that's going to, just because everyone else agrees, it doesn't mean that it's any more valid than, it doesn't make it valid, So I think it would be great to take a second and criticizing to think about where you're coming from, where are you speaking from, what perspective you're coming from. If you're not speaking from the perspective of someone invested, then it's not constructive criticism. You're just venting, you're upset. We all want the album, or Normani wants the album. Until then, smoke on that slow burn of Wild Side and enjoy motivation, but also respect the growth of artists. Let artists grow. Let artists and let the industry and let the labels figure things out. Let it do what it's supposed to do. But trying to criticize an artist, and artists are highly sensitive, and especially if they had a lot to deal with in the industry and in society and in social media as it was even then, to even be as dense and ill-informed, it doesn't help. And then to put out more videos saying the same thing, it goes from, it doesn't even read as constructive any longer. It just reads as something else, So if you are truly someone invested, if you are truly a fan or any of that, if you are invested in that artist, you come with facts. You come with something. Your comparisons are few and far. You don't compare anything because this artist is a brand new style of artist. This artist can't be boxed. She's not a pop artist. She's not an R&B artist. She's not a classical artist. She's Normani. And when we can adopt that same mentality that we have for our personal favorites and we can apply that towards everyone else, this whole Aquarian age of just everyone just being different and all of that, that's where we're in. You're not going to be able to put her in a box. Not to mention she's a Gemini too. You can't put them in a box. She's going to have different sounds. Just expect that. But I can tell you that Wild Side was the introduction to the sound that represents her aesthetic and her energy or her vibration. She gives off that super dark, ember, burning, hot lava that's just under the rocks. She has that heat, but it's extremely magnetic and it's smoky. It's pretty interesting. I watch and I observe her. I'm like, there's something extremely unique there that I don't see with any other artist. And, a lot of my fellow astrologers be like, well, that's a Scorpio moon. She has a Scorpio moon like someone else. And they carry that mystery, that privacy that makes you want to know more. And you'll be angry because you're comparing someone who's never going to be that type of person to everyone who is. You're not respecting that person for who they are. You know what I mean? So it's all fascinating to see, and it's fascinating. But I think a lot of these people in these positions that have these large followings and just speak off the top of their dome, and they don't take that time to show up as who they claim they are. It's like, you're not adding to the conversation in a positive way, as a matter of fact. And everyone else who's just blindly agreeing and not taking the time to think is making it worse. So take the time to learn the art of criticism by just being more informed in what you have to say. If you like what you heard, go ahead and follow me here, The Painted Fool. You can follow me on Instagram at The Painted Fool. I also have a podcast. Everywhere you can find that podcast. But just wanted to offer my 2 cents. But until such time,